Scandinavian Bob here, hi. A lot of guys would like to know what's worse, frequent small relapses versus going a bit longer between relapses and then binging for hours. Well, let's talk a bit about it. First, now we all know that a 3-hour relapsing session is much worse than a 15-minute session. I mean, that's just bloody obvious. But what about if we were to take an example with the same total amount? Let's say person A were to use adult sites 4 times a week, and then after 3 weeks that would add up to a total amount of 3 hours. Then we have person B here who is binging for 3 hours, but he does that only once every 3 weeks. So they are both spending the same total amount of time on adult sites here. Which one is doing the most damage? Well, from what I have seen during all my years in the rebooting community, the guys who do it more often tend to run into problems with PIED the most, while the ones who tend to do something like 3-hour sessions tend to more often have problems with DE, delayed busting. But this is by no means the case for everyone, as you have to keep in mind that we are all different and that things affect us differently. Now, it could make sense that the frequent shorter sessions are worse for PIED because PIED is so much about conditioning, and every time you are using adult sites, you are literally training your brain to respond to pixels on a screen instead of real life people. So it's like person A here has frequent training sessions, and we all know that we learn faster with more practice. For example, you learn to play the piano better with frequent small practice sessions than just one long session every now and then. And in this case, the learning is bad, of course. Now, don't think that person B is doing any good here either, because that 3-hour session is completely frying his dopamine receptors, and 3 weeks in between sessions is probably not going to be enough for his dopamine system to recover, which means that he will with time most likely end up with a severely dysfunctional dopamine system, which in turn often can show itself as some or several of the following things: low motivation and drive, poor focus, poor short-term memory, depression, anxiety, and even anhedonia, or an inability to enjoy things in life, just to name some of the most common ones. By the way, this can obviously also happen to person A, and again, both of them can indeed develop PIED, so it's not like I can recommend one scenario over the other one here. I'm just speculating here on what could potentially be a bit worse. Now, what about the addiction itself? Which scenario would be more devastating for developing stronger addiction-related brain changes? Well, one might think that person A would become more addicted since he's giving in more often. And yes, that may also be the case, but it's not entirely sure. There is an article over at Your Brain on P where you can read about how intermittent use can sometimes actually be a bigger addiction generator than frequent small sessions. Yes, and this may be because your brain is just starting to repair itself when you again completely overwhelm it with a massive relapse. Here's a quote from that article. Quote, "For example, both drug and junk food studies reveal that intermittent use can lead more quickly to addiction-related brain changes. The primary change is sensitization, which blasts the brain's reward center with signals that produce hard-to-ignore cravings," unquote. And further down, a short summary like, quote, "Intermittent consumption, especially in the form of a binge, can also produce severe withdrawal symptoms. In other words, when someone uses after a period of abstinence, it can hit the user harder. Based on this research, scientists have concluded that everyday consumption of, say, cocaine, alcohol, cigarettes, or junk food is not necessary to generate addiction-related brain changes. Intermittent binging can do the same thing as continuous use, and in some cases do more," unquote. Yeah, so what conclusions can we draw from all of this? Well, it is pretty easy really. Relapsing is bad, no matter how we try to look at it. There's just no way of getting around that. And so don't even try to find the least worst path forward to take. Just do your very best to stop relapsing altogether. Before I continue, I would like to take a few seconds to let you know that this video is brought to you by Dopamine Discipline. And if you are addicted to adult sites, then give me your full attention here, because Dopamine Discipline is an online course for overcoming addiction to adult sites using a new revolutionary HCT method. In fact, that course produces such great results that I feel absolutely honored that I get to promote it on my channel. It is created by a licensed therapist who has helped a lot of men quit their PMO addiction for good. So please understand that this course is the real deal and that it is very effective. I have literally seen guys who have been addicted for decades quit in just a matter of days after trying his new HCT method. So if you're sick and tired of feeling bad after those relapses, then right now's your chance to finally do something about it, because currently they also have a light version for it, and that version, I think it was as low as half the price last time I checked. I'll leave a link down below where you can check current pricing for both the light version and the full version. If you have been trying to quit for some time now, only to fail again and again, then I'm telling you guys, consider checking this course out, because it is really something special. Just click the link where it says Dopamine Discipline right now and go and read the reviews there, and you'll see exactly what I mean.